Welcome back, pilots. So today we're going to be going over the top 5 tips for getting you guys started in the upcoming playtest that's starting in like a couple hours. Actually, it's kind of crazy as of this recording anyways, but this is also going to help anyone that is starting later on during the second phase of the playtest or when the game finally launches. So let's get into it. Okay, so tip number 1. Familiarize yourself with the controls. I get it, it's gonna sound like a very basic, super basic tip, but it's actually pretty important, especially now that they've added a new feature where you can manually aim and not just completely rely on the soft lock system that we've had previously. It's gonna be super important. For those of you using things like the Aquila or the Narukami, this is going to come in handy for you guys a lot. Also, those of you that are going to be utilizing a lot of the melee function, also with the new salt boost that we have as well, things might feel a little bit off going into this version of the game. So definitely get in there, get in a couple practice sessions, and really get familiar with the new controls that we have available to us. Tip number 2, have a main striker, but definitely plan for a backup. What you're not factoring in with this game is that there can only actually be one type of striker per team. So for example, if I go in wanting to pick the Panther and someone has already chosen that, I'm stuck. I can't actually pick him again. I would have to pick a backup. So that's not actually a bad thing. It actually come in clutch because it's going to teach you how to play a lot of the different strikers that are available. In fact, it helped me out quite a bit. In one of the tests that I managed to play, I really just wanted to play the Panther, the Narukami. There was a couple that I really had favorites and I just wanted to play those non-stop, but there were some times where they were selected and I just couldn't do so. And I ended up going with the Welkin. Now, the Welkin was definitely one on my list that I wanted to try. It just wasn't the top priority. But because it was something that I had as a backup, I managed to actually have it available to me. I was able to select it, get some games in, and really fall in love with that as a striker. And I'm glad I did, because it was actually the first time I got an ace during this entire playthrough that I was in. And I love the Welkin because of that. And I would have never even known if I didn't have that backup ready to go that I knew I wanted to play. So definitely make sure that you guys pick out your main striker, but don't plan to just one trick the entire playtest, because you're definitely going to have a couple backups that you're going to need to rely on. That last tip segues great into our next tip, which is tip number 3, and that is knowing and understanding your striker. So what I mean by this is really play to your strengths. If you have a long-range unit like the Narukami, you're not going to want to put yourself in a position where you're up close and personal with something like a Welkin. The last thing you need is to be trapped in that jail cell with that death machine. That's not something you want to happen. It's just going to erase you from existence every time. So what you want to do is set yourself up to play to your win conditions. If you're a long-range sniper, make sure you're maintaining a lot of distance. Make sure that your teammates are creating a bit of a barrier between you and the enemy. Not necessarily use them as meat shields, you definitely want to help them out, but make sure that you're positioned properly. Also, if you are a frontline tank unit, something like the Welkin, like we mentioned earlier, or if you're something similar to like the Tricera, you want to play to those strengths. Get up and close with the enemy, create a barrier between you and your squishier teammates, but also utilize that extra health and defense that you have to be able to secure objectives. Make sure that you're moving up close and making sure that you can impose your will on your enemy by utilizing those strengths that you have. But not only that, there is a ton of utility in this game that can further help out not only yourself, but your teammates. If you are a sniper player like a Narukami or an Aquila, make sure you are channeling your inner lock-on Stratus and annihilating targets from afar.
It's from below!
It's lock-up.
Dynamis is targeted and ready to fire.
Make sure that you're also covering objectives. A lot of times there's going to be a striker that tries to crowd an objective, tries to sneak it out from behind your team or anything like that. Make sure you're on point and playing towards the objective and making sure that you lock down that entire area. Same goes for things like the Tricera. It's so hard to dislodge a Tricera from an objective. Make sure you're playing to that strength on every point that you get a chance to. Moving on to our next tip, Tip number 4, utilizing cover, as well as just overall map awareness. In this game, there's going to be a couple different maps you're going to have the opportunity of playing on, and one thing you're going to familiarize yourself with really quickly is being shot at a lot. So to prevent that from happening, you definitely want to make sure you're utilizing cover. It's not just a fancy, nice, cool looking rendered 3D model that's in front of you, it's a vital source of protection. More so than just your armor or your HP, utilizing cover is going to come in handy. The last thing you need is for any of these snipers or for even the melee units to be coming at you non-stop and just destroying you left and right. Hide behind something, get behind something. Make sure you're just not out in the open getting destroyed. Snipers will take you on this game. And I know I harp on that a lot. It's starting to sound like maybe the Narukami or the Aquillas might be kind of OP. I don't think they are.
You're stupid!
I don't think they are, but they are definitely a very imposing feature of this game, but it's meant to be. I honestly think they're great, and it makes the game feel even better because of that, because they feel like a genuine threat, unlike other games where the long-range units are definitely pretty hard-hitting, but don't make you feel the urge to actually get behind something and protect yourself. In this game, they definitely have an impact, but because of that, you're gonna need cover. Map awareness will be key. Definitely take note of where all your objectives are. Keep track of where the rotations are going to be as well, how people like to get to certain objectives, how they like to retreat from them, how they like to take one objective, and where they would like to go on to their next objective. Keep track of where spawn zones might be as well. All of these things are going to be important when trying to figure out how you're going to go about winning each match. These are all very important things, and it is going to take some time over the course of the life of the game to get accustomed to all of them, but I definitely think day one, taking note of a lot of the main map features will help you greatly throughout your overall playtest and when the game launches officially. And our last tip, tip number 5, work with your teammates. I mean that so hard. Okay, in this game, there's so many cool utility abilities that so many different strikers have that just enable teamwork in a big way. Not to mention, it's just really cool. Like, for example, the Narukami has an entire stealth ability, not only for themselves, but for their teammates. How sick is that? You can make an entire team vanish, okay? Poof, gone. Ninja ability, right? That's so sick. Not to mention, other units also have something similar to that. For example, the most recent striker that they've added, the Stego, also has something similar where you can actually make like a giant haze that not only makes it so you can't lock on to the targets that are within that haze, but you're actually invisible to the enemy once you're in it. And there's a bunch of other abilities that are similar to this where you're also able to collaborate with your teammates. The obvious one, obviously, is the Illuminate. It's a literal Swiss Army knife for supports. You can heal, you can give energy just by simply being around your teammates and helping them out in the fight, which you should pretty much be doing anyways, but it's just such a cool collaborative striker to use. Also, strikers like the Falcon can actually use their scanning ability to reveal hidden enemies. So those Narukamis that are going invisible or using the Stego's haze to actually vanish can actually be completely revealed just from using that scan ability to help out your teammates. Also, one of my favorite units, once again, the Welkin, can actually use things like a flash grenade to completely disorient the enemy. And if you're with your teammates, that's going to help them out so much. It's just like a free kill at that point. And you can even do things with the Welkin where you can trap them in your death box and just completely destroy them that way. Or you can actually use it to set up objectives. You can make basically like a little buffer between yourself and the enemy where they're basically trapped on the outside. You can sit on the objective and take it, and they can't really do anything about it. It's one of a really cool ability to have. And there you have it. Those are our top 5 tips for getting started in Mecha Break. For those of you that have a couple more and think there should be more added to the list, I might actually make a couple follow-up videos to go on after this or for later on when the game officially launches. But if you have some other tips that you'd like to share with the rest of the player base, definitely chime in the comments. I would love to, hear what you guys have to say and just learn a little bit more about the game as well. I personally haven't tried out to the fullest degree all the different strikers that are in the game, and you guys may have a lot of other tips that could be pretty useful for the entire community. So definitely drop a comment, leaving some other tips for everyone else. So if you want to stay updated with everything Mecha Break, definitely subscribe and click the bell icon to make sure you're notified when any new videos go out. I also stream whenever I get the chance, usually 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my time. So whenever you get the chance, definitely come say hi in the Twitch chat. It's always a fun time. So hopefully I see you guys there, and see you guys in the next one.